what you're talking about is, unfortunately, this gentleman lost his wife a few years ago, and he never updated the beneficiary on this account. So this is not a small account. It's a rather big account, in fact. And he doesn't have a beneficiary on the account, which means if he died with this retirement account, the money would go to his estate. His family, his heirs would ultimately get the money, but it'd be more complicated, more costly, more time consuming by simply having beneficiaries on file, recorded accurately and consistent with your wishes. That's the kind of thing where we met with Don this morning. It's a big part of the reason why he wants to work with us, not just a good investment plan, but those extras so that he could enjoy his retirement. He loves to travel. He could go travel knowing that the chances that something's falling through the cracks have gone down dramatically.
Yeah, I'll give you another interesting story that I heard. So my father is a CPA, and one of his clients had taken out a very large life insurance policy to pay his school. And I'll leave the details out, but basically he had taken out a policy that when he died, all the money would go to his alma mater, his college.
Okay.
So he did ultimately pass away, but when they were completing the life insurance forms, they left off the beneficiary information. So the school that he was supposed to leave the money to got into a fight, into a legal battle, a court battle with his family over who was supposed to get the funds. And they had to bring witnesses in to say his intent was to give the funds to the school. And they had all these other policies to cover the family. And it became this big, huge mess. So I would definitely suggest meeting with someone annually to make sure that all that information, like you said, to make sure all that information isn't missed.
It's better to avoid a mistake than to try and fix one. And that's largely what you and I are talking about here. Right. You help clients, I do. And if we could avoid a mistake instead of solving one, our clients will be much better off, as well as their families.
So what do you think is coming? What do you think is on the horizon here?
Wow, that is a good question. My industry is being changed, like a lot of industries, by tremendous technological changes. So we here at Elliott Wealth Management, I have a great team. As we talked about, I'm a boutique investment advisory practice. I don't have thousands and thousands of clients. So we have a good, strong personal relationship with our clients. And so we're focused on delivering those gold medal services I talked about, but trying to do that more efficiently so that we could serve and help more people. And one of the key ways of doing that is to leverage technology so that, again, we could deliver gold medal services, terrific investment plans, high-performing financial plans, but to use technology. And part of that use of technology is to increase communication. And I imagine you launching your Crushing Debt podcast is a similar example to mine. By having the Simply Financial podcast, I could communicate with my clients in a way that most of them are going to find appealing, because they could listen to the podcast, find out my thoughts about estate planning, dollar cost averaging, the need for life insurance. The most recent episode I did is about the wild ride in the stock market recently. So they could check in and get my thoughts, but they could do it on demand, whether they're exercising or on a plane or in the car or at their desk at the office. So that's a good example of leveraging technology, using the podcast platform in an innovative way to communicate with my clients. Because one thing, Sean, that hasn't come out so far is about a third of my clients are in Connecticut, a third are in Florida. Now, Florida is a big state, so they're not necessarily all close to my office. And then a third are in states that are clients that are in states elsewhere. And the podcast is an innovative way where I could communicate with my clients, with potential clients, and they could check in with me, but they could do it on demand when they want to listen.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you in terms of the podcast being on demand. And I think you and I are similar in that our shows support our businesses. I've got plenty of podcaster friends that have their 9-to-5 job or have their business, whatever their business is, but then they run a show on the side because it's a passion project of theirs, versus your show and my show, I think, are designed for the same purpose. And that is to support, your firm, just your podcast to support your show, my podcast to to support mine, which it has, which I love doing, which is, I think we're both, actually you're in year 3 of your show as we record this. And this show is probably going to end up being the beginning of my 4th year of shows. So anything else, anything that we forgot to talk about, anything that you want to mention?
Well, you asked about what's coming down the pike. I think if your listeners have investments, maybe they do it themselves. Maybe they're working with a financial advisor. It could be somebody from a major wirehouse, or maybe another individual, another independent advisor. Is one of the things that technology and increased competition is doing, Sean, is we have a trend where investment costs are declining. And clients, investors want to make sure that however they're handling their investment portfolio, or if they're building one, how they're going to build it, is to take advantage of this cost curve downward. We spend a lot of time with our clients trying to take advantage of that. Now, listen, price is not the end all, the be all. I'm not going to go hire an attorney that's cheap but lousy. I want to get a good balance of the two. And what we do for clients is very comprehensive, but we really focus a lot on trying to take advantage of reduced costs. And often we could bring a client in and actually have them spend less total investment cost and still get a better overall value proposition with our comprehensive service. So that's something I think your listeners will want to pay attention to if they haven't already.
Very nice. Anything else before we – actually, I'm sort of curious how you came up with Elliott Wealth Management Services when I don't believe Elliott is anywhere in your name.
It is not in my name. That is a good story. So I originally was based solely in Southington, Connecticut, which is where the home office of Elliott Wealth Management Services is. And I was a minority partner in a property and casualty insurance agency called Elliott Insurance Group. Elliott Insurance Group at the time had been doing business in this area since 1892. So it was a really good local brand name. And I was a minority partner in the property and casualty insurance business. Again, I'm an entrepreneur. And then I branded my financial planning investment advisory firm as Elliott Wealth to capture that powerful brand name in this locale. But that business was sold back in 2012, the property and casualty agency. So it's really a legacy name. If I was naming my company today, I probably would pick a different one, but I haven't really gone through the work and effort to change it. I like it. The team likes it. My clients that have been with me a long time, they've known the name for a while, but the original premise for the name doesn't really exist anymore.
That's still, it's an interesting story. It's a lot better than my last name is Yesner, so my law firm is Yesner Law.
Yeah, I have a more colorful story.
There you go. I like it. So with that, I think we're going to wrap up this week's episode. Again, if you want to catch Chris in his podcast, it is the Simply Financial podcast. You can find it on all the major players, the Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Stitcher and all those, or wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find him there. You can check out his website, elliottwealth.com. Again, ELLIOTT wealth.com. Chris, thanks again for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just add for listeners, when you go to the website, please know that you're entitled for a complimentary consultation. If you wanted to get more information about me and how we might be able to help you, you could sign up there for, again, a complimentary no-cost consultation. So please take advantage of that if there's any way we might possibly be able to help you and work with you now and in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with that, I'm going to put an end to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, and we will catch you in next week's episode.
Thank you so much, Sean.
If you have questions that you think would make a great topic for a future episode, please email Sean or connect with us on social media. Sean Yesner and Yesner Law, PL, are Florida licensed attorneys. The information contained in this week's episode is not a substitute for legal advice. Your situation may differ, especially if you are located somewhere other than the state of Florida. If you have questions, please contact our office or contact a local attorney. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of SagePoint Financial Incorporated and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of the information provided at these websites, nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management, LLC, not affiliated with SagePoint Financial.